Well, ho, 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 hello and welcome everyone to this evening's quiz. This is the first of a two-part special that we've put together over this Christmas period. Much like the other quizzes we've done, it's going to be 6 rounds of 10 questions that we'll go through, and then you'll get the answers shortly afterwards. So we're going to jump straight in. Round number 1 is a general knowledge round. So we've got 10 questions in this round, I think. So what we'll do, we'll read the question out, read the answers out, and give you a moment to think about your answer. And the questions and answers should come up to one side of me, all being well. So question number 1 of the general knowledge round. How many teeth does an adult human have? Do they have A, 17, B, 25, C, 32, or D, 36? How many teeth does an adult human have? A, 17, B, 25, C, 32, or D, 36? Question number 2. What is the largest bird of prey in the world? Is it A, a lappet-faced vulture, B, an Andean condor, C, a Californian condor, or D, a bearded vulture? So what is the largest bird of prey in the world? A, a lappet-faced vulture, B, an Andean condor, C, a Californian condor, or D, a bearded vulture? I'll give you a moment to think about that. Question number 3. Who is 5th in line to the British throne? Is it A, Prince Louis, B, Prince George, C, Prince Archie, or D, Princess Eugenie? Who is 5th British throne? Prince Louis, Prince George, Prince Archie, or Princess Eugenie? Question number 4. What is the capital of Hawaii? Is it A, Hilo, B, Oahu, C, Honolulu, or D, Wailuku? What is it? Wailuku. I've done it again. I've put a name on that I can't pronounce. So what is the capital of Hawaii? Is it A, Hilo, B, Oahu, C, Honolulu, or D, Wailuku? I'll give you a moment to think about that. Question number 5. How many eggs does the average chicken lay per year? A, 260, B, 300, C, 100, or D, 365? How many eggs does the average chicken lay per year? A, 260, B, 300, C, 100, or D, 365? Question number 6. In which English seaside town was Fawlty Towers set? Was it A, Aberystwyth, B, Blackpool, C, Torquay, or D, Margate? In which English seaside town was Fawlty Towers set? A, Aberystwyth, B, Blackpool, C, Torquay, or D, Margate? Question number 7. What is a group of lions called? Is it A, a pride, B, a group, C, a collection, or D, a family? What is a group of lions called? A, a pride, B, a group, C, a collection, or D, a family? Question number 8. How many legs does a lobster have? Is it A, 4, B, 6, C, 8, or D, 10? So how many legs does a lobster have? A, 4, B, 6, C, 8, D, 10. Question number 9. Which is the only venomous snake native to the UK? Is it A, an adder, B, a smooth snake, or C, a grass snake? So which is the only venomous snake native to the UK? A, an adder, B, a smooth snake, or C, a grass snake? And the final question of the round, question number 10. Who was the only British Prime Minister to be assassinated? Was it A, William Cavendish Beatnik, B, Spencer Perceval, C, Robert Jenkinson, or D, F.J. Robinson? So who was the only British Prime Minister to have been assassinated? A, William Cavendish Beatnik, B, Spencer Perceval, C, Robert Jenkinson, or D, F.J. Robinson? And that brings an end to that round. Just give you a moment and then we'll move on to round number 2. And round number 2 is a sports round. Starting off with question number 1. What is Usain Bolt's 100 metres world record time? Is it A, 9.42 seconds, B, 9.52 seconds, C, 9.58 seconds, or D, 9.67 seconds? So what is Usain Bolt's 100 metre world record time? A, 9.42 seconds, B, 9.52 seconds, C, 9.58 seconds, or D, 9.67 seconds? I'll give you a moment to think about that. Question number 2. Which England footballer was famously never given a yellow card? Was it A, Gary Lineker, B, Ashley Cole, C, Pat Jennings, or D, Bobby Charlton? Which England footballer was famously never given a yellow card? A, Gary Lineker, B, Ashley Cole, C, Pat Jennings, or D, Bobby Charlton? Question number 3. Who were Man United playing when Eric Cantona leaped into the crowd and kicked a fan? Was it A, Leeds, B, Oldham, C, Bradford, or D, Crystal Palace? Who were Man United playing when Eric Cantona leaped into the crowd and kicked a fan? A, Leeds, B, Oldham, C, Bradford, or D, Crystal Palace? Question number 4. Which famous football manager once said, "I wouldn't say I was the best manager in the business, but I was in the top 1"? Was it A, Kenny Dalglish, B, Don Revie, C, Brian Clough, or D, Jose Mourinho. So which famous football manager once said that I wouldn't say I was the best manager in the business, but I would say I was in the top one? A. Kenny Dalglish, B. Don Revie, C. Brian Clough, or D. Jose Mourinho? Question number 5. How many Olympic gold medals did rower Sir Steve Redgrave win? Was it A. 3, B. 4, C. 5, or D. 6? So how many Olympic gold medals did rower Sir Steve Redgrave win? A. 3, B. 4, C. 5, or D. 6? Question number 6. In what year did Andy Murray win Wimbledon for the first time? Was it A. 2012, B. 2013, C. 2014, or D. 2015? So in what year did Andy Murray win Wimbledon for the first time? A. 2012, B. 2013, C. 2014, or D. 2015? I'll give you a moment to think about that. Question number 7. Where were the Olympics held in 1980? Was it A. Russia, B. the USA, C. Italy, or D. France? Where were the Olympics held in 1980? A. Russia, B. the USA, C. Italy, or D. France? And question number 8. At which Olympics did Dame Kelly Holmes win 2 gold medals? Was it A. 1996, B. 2000, C. 2004, or D. 2008? At which Olympics did Dame Kelly Holmes win 2 gold medals? A. 1996, B. 2000, C. 2004, or D. 2008? And final question of this round, question number 9, and this question is for 2 points. Please can you name me the colours of the 5 Olympic rings? So if you can get 2 of them, out of the 5 you get a mark. If you can get them all, you get 2. So what colours are the 5 Olympic rings? Okay, moving on to round number 3. Round number 3 is called the Impossible Round. So some of you may have seen there's a programme on TV in the daytime. It's a quiz show, and this is based loosely on that premise. So what's going to happen is that something is going to come up at the top of the screen. So it's going to be an actor's films, and there's going to be a list of 4 films, and of those 4 films, they'll have starred in 3 of the films, and there is an impossible answer, so there is a film that they didn't star in, and I want you to give me what is the impossible answer. So starting off with number 1, Tom Hanks films. So there's 4 films here. Tom Hanks has been in 3 of them, and he's not been in one of them, and that is the impossible answer that I want you to give me. So Tom Hanks films: A. Forrest Gump, B. Sully, C. The Terminal, D. Moneyball. So Tom Hanks films: A. Forrest Gump, B. Sully, C. The Terminal, or D. Moneyball. Moving on to number 2. Premier League winning managers. A. Brendan Rodgers, B. Claudio Ranieri, C. Kenny Dalglish, or D. Manuel Pellegrini. So A. Brendan Rodgers, B. Claudio Ranieri, C. Kenny Dalglish, or D. Manuel Pellegrini. So same again, 3 of these managers have won the Premier League, one of them hasn't, so therefore they're the impossible answer. Moving on to number 3. This one is Robin Williams films. So A. Aladdin, B. Good Will Hunting, C. Philadelphia, or D. Mrs. Doubtfire. So Robin Williams has starred in 3 of these films and one of them he hasn't, and that is the impossible answer. Moving on to number 4. Prime Ministers of the UK. So A. Benjamin Disraeli, B. William Gladstone, C. Arthur Balfour, and D. Michael Heseltine. So 3 of these guys have been Prime Ministers and one of them has not, and that is the answer I want. So A. Benjamin Disraeli, B. William Gladstone, C. Arthur Balfour, or D. Michael Heseltine. And moving on to number 5. David Jason programmes. A. A Touch of Frost, B. Porridge, C. Dora the Explorer, or D. Fireman Sam. So David Jason has starred in 3 of these programmes and one of them he has not. So A. A Touch of Frost, B. Porridge, C. Dora the Explorer, or D. Fireman Sam. And number 6, Enid Blyton books. A. The Famous Five, B. The Secret Seven, C. The Fantastic Four, or D. Pixie Tales. A. The Famous Five, B. The Secret Seven, C. The Fantastic Four, or D. Pixie Tales. That is Pixie Tales, not Pirate Tales. Number 7, Jesus' disciples. A. James, B. James, son of Andrew, C. Didymus, or D. Bartholomew. So A. James, B. James, son of Andrew, C. Didymus, or D. Bartholomew. Number 8, the Kennedy brothers. A. Robert, B. John, C. Ted, D. Andrew. So 3 of these people, 3 of those names are Kennedy brothers and one of them is not a Kennedy brother. So A. Robert, B. John, C. Ted, or D. Andrew. Moving on to number 9. Vice Presidents of the USA. A. Quincy Adams, B. Calvin Coolidge, C. Richard Nixon, D. James Madison. So A. Quincy Adams, B. Calvin Coolidge, C. Richard Nixon, or D. James Madison. So 3 of those guys have been Vice President, one of them has not. And the final one of this round, Archbishops of Canterbury. A. Justin Welby, B. John Sentamu, C. Donald Cogan, D. William Temple. So A. Justin Welby, B. John Sentamu, C. Donald Cogan, or D. William Temple. So 3 of those guys have been Archbishops of Canterbury, 1 of them has not. That brings an end to round number 3. Moving on to round number 4, this is the geography round. So question number 1. The M1 motorway is how many miles long? Is it A, 152 miles long, B, 177 miles long, C, 193 miles long, or D, 202 miles long? So the M1 motorway is how many miles long? A, 152, B, 177, C, 193, or D, 202 miles. Question number 2. Which stretch of water separates Anglesey and Wales? Is it A, the Menai Strait, B, the Irish Sea, C, the Severn Strait, or D, Lake David? So which stretch of water separates Anglesey and Wales? A, the Menai Strait, B, the Irish Sea, C, the Severn Strait, or D, Lake David? I'll give you a moment to think there. And question number 3. What is the world's biggest port? Is it A, the port of Qingdao, B, the port of Rotterdam, C, the port of Singapore, or D, the port of Shanghai? So what is the world's biggest port? A, the port of Qingdao, B, the port of Rotterdam, C, the port of Singapore, or D, the port of Shanghai? Question number 4. Which island would you visit to kiss the Blarney Stone? Is it A, the Falklands, B, Gibraltar, C, Ireland, or D, Jersey? So which island would you visit to kiss the Blarney Stone? A, the Falklands, B, Gibraltar, C, Ireland, or D, Jersey? Moving on to question 5. So on an OS map with a scale of 1 to 25,000, how many miles are in 1 inch? Is it A, 2.5 miles, B, 0.25 miles, C, 25 miles, or D, 250 miles? So on an OS map with a scale of 1 to 25,000, how many miles represent 1 inch? A, 2.5 miles, B, 0.25 miles, C, 25 miles, or D, 250 miles? And the second half of this round is slightly different. So what you'll get is a picture on your screen, and that is a picture of a landmark somewhere in the world. Each of the pictures has a name for the place that you'll see. So they'll come up on the screen in a moment, and you've got to give me the name of the landmark. And that's the end of that round there. So we'll move on to round number 5, which is the Bible round. So question number 1. Samson used a donkey's jawbone to kill how many men? Was it A, 100, B, 500, C, 1,000, or D, 5,000? So Samson used a donkey's jaw bone to kill how many men? A, 100, B, 500, C, 1,000, or D, 5,000? Question number 2. How many times do the phrases fear not or do not fear show up in the Bible? Is it A, 96, B, 127, C, 252, or D, 365? So how many times do the phrases fear not and do not fear show up in the Bible? Is it A, 96, B, 127, C, 252, or D, 365? Question number 3. There were 2 men who never died in the Bible. Elijah was one. Who was the other? Was it A, Moses, B, Isaiah, C, Enoch, or D, Hezekiah? So there were 2 men who never died in the Bible. Elijah was one. Who was the other? A, Moses, B, Isaiah, C, Enoch, or D, Hezekiah? Question number 4. Which woman is mentioned most in Scripture? A, Mary, B, Sarah, C, Delilah, or D, Rachel? So which woman is mentioned most in Scripture? A, Mary, B, Sarah, C, Delilah, or D, Rachel? Question number 5. God gave manna to the Israelites while they were in the desert. What does the word manna mean? Is it A, angel bread, B, Jew bread, C, what is it, or D, God provides? So God gave manna to the Israelites while they were in the desert. What does the word manna mean? A, angel bread, B, Jew bread, C, what is it, or D, God provides? Question number 6. What is the shortest book of the Bible by verse? Is it A, Titus, B, 2 John, C, Philemon, or D, Obadiah? So what is the shortest book of the Bible by verse? Is it A, Titus, B, 2 John, C, Philemon, or D, Obadiah? Question number 7. How many brothers did Jesus have? And there's a bonus point if you can name them. So is it A, 2, B, 4, C, 6, or D, 0? So how many brothers did Jesus have? And there's a bonus point if you can name them. A, 2, B, 4, C, 6, or D, 0? Question number 8. What is the only book of the Bible that does not contain the word God? Is it A, Ruth, B, Esther, C, Songs of Solomon, or D, Philemon? What is the only book of the Bible that does not contain the word God? A, Ruth, B, Esther, C, Songs of Solomon, or D, Philemon? Round number 6. This round is a review of the year. So obviously 2020 has been a wonderful year for us all, and I thought it'd be really nice to go back over it and ask you some questions about different things that have gone on this past year. So question number 1. How much money did Captain Tom raise for his birthday walk? Was it A, 30 million, B, 32 million, C, 34 million, and D, 38 million? So how much money did Captain Tom raise for his birthday walk? A, 30 million, B, 32 million, C, 34 million, or D, 38 million? And this answer doesn't take into account the addition of gift aid, so please don't count it in your answer. Question 2. How much money did Marcus Rashford raise through lockdown? Was it A, 10 million, B, 15 million, C, 20 million, or D, 25 million? So how much money did Marcus Rashford raise through lockdown? A, 10 million, B, 15 million, C, 20 million, or D, 25 million? Question number 3. What date did Harry and Meghan announce their decision to step back from royal duties? Was it A, the 1st of January, B, the 8th of January, C, the 15th of January, or D, the 22nd of January? So what date did Harry and Meghan announce their decision to step back from royal duties? A, the 1st of January, B, the 8th of January, C, the 15th of January, or D, the 22nd of January? Question number 4. When was the first recorded COVID case in this country? A, the 31st of January, B, the 7th of February, C, the 14th of February, or D, the 12th of January? So when was the first recorded COVID case in this country? A, the 31st of January, B, the 7th of February, C, the 14th of February, or D, the 12th of January? Question 5. When did the impeachment of President Donald Trump begin? Was it A, the 16th of January, B, the 17th of January, C, the 25th of January, or D, the 26th of January? So what date did the impeachment of President Donald Trump begin? A, the 16th of January, B, the 17th of January, C, the 25th of January, or D, the 26th of January? Question number 6. How many points did the Dow Jones drop in a single day in March, which was the single biggest drop ever? Was it A, 1,500 points, B, 2,013 points, C, 2,506 points, or D, 2,913 points? So how many points did the Dow Jones drop in a single day in March, which was the single biggest drop ever? A, 1,500 points, B 2,013 points, C 2,506 points, or D 2,913 points. Question number 7. What caused the huge explosion in Beirut this year? Was it A, ammonium nitrate, B, TNT, C, gunpowder, or D, petrol? So what caused a huge explosion in Beirut this year? A, ammonium nitrate, B, TNT, C, gunpowder, or D, petrol? And question number 8. Ruth Ginsburg died in September. What famous role did she hold? Was it A, the longest-serving Congresswoman, B, the longest-serving CEO in American history, C, a Supreme Court judge, or D, the longest-serving senator? So Ruth Ginsburg died in September. What famous role did she hold? A, the longest-serving Congresswoman, B, the longest-serving CEO in American history, C, a Supreme Court judge, or D, the longest-serving senator? Question 9. Which was the first European country to implement a lockdown? Was it A, France, B, Germany, C, Italy, or D, Austria? So which was the first European country to implement a lockdown? A, France, B, Germany, C, Italy, or D, Austria? And the final question of episode 1 of the quiz. Question number 10. Liverpool won the Premier League this year. How long is it since their last league title win? A, 25 years, B, 27 years, C, 30 years, or D, 35 years? So how long since Liverpool last won the league title? A, 25 years, B, 27 years, C, 30 years, or D, 35 years? Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed the quiz. Part 1 of the quiz, that is. We'll go through the answers now, so if you mark away as you go, and once we finish, you can send us the answers or put them in the comments, and we'll see how people are getting on. And remember your score for the next time, because we'll combine them, and whoever's got the highest total score will win. So round number 1, general knowledge. Question 1, how many teeth does an adult human have? The answer is C, 32. Question number 2, what is the largest bird of prey in the world? The answer is B, the Andean condor. Question 3, the 5th person in line to the British throne is A, Prince Louis. Question number 4, the capital of Hawaii is C, Honolulu. Question 5, the average chicken lays 260 eggs per year. So that is A, 260. Question number 6, in which English seaside town was Fawlty Towers set? It was set in C, Torquay. Question 7, a group of lions is called a pride. That is A. Question 8, a lobster has 8 legs. C, 8 legs. Question 9, the only venomous snake native to the UK is A, an adder. And question 10, the only British Prime Minister to be assassinated was B, Spencer Perceval. So you can go up to 10 marks for that round. Round number 2 is a sport round. So Usain Bolt's world record time in 100 metres was C, 9.58 seconds. Question number 2, the only the English footballer that was never given a yellow card was A, Gary Lineker. Question 3, Manchester United were playing D, Crystal Palace, when Eric Cantona leaped into the crowd and kung fu kicked a supporter. Question 4. Which famous football manager once said, "I wouldn't say I was the best manager in the business, but I was in the top 1. The answer is, of course, C, Brian Clough. Question 5. Sir Steve Redgrave won 5 Olympic gold medals. That is C. Question 6. Andy Murray first won Wimbledon in B, 2013. Question 7. The Olympics in 1980 were held in A, Russia. Question 8. The Olympic Games that Dame Kelly Holmes won 2 gold medals at was C, 2004. Question 9. The colours of the 5 Olympic rings. So don't forget you need 2 or 3 to get a mark and all 5 to get 2 marks. So the colour of the rings are blue, black, red, yellow and green. And moving on to round 3, the impossible round. So you had to give me the impossible answer to each question. So Tom Hanks films. So the impossible answer here was D, Moneyball. He never starred in the film Moneyball. Premier League winning managers. The impossible answer here is A, Brendan Rodgers. Question number 3, Robin Williams films. The impossible answer here was C, Philadelphia. Question 4, Prime Minister of the UK. The impossible answer here was D, Michael Heseltine. Question 5, David Jason programmes. The impossible answer here was D, Fireman Sam. Question 6, Enid Blyton books. The impossible answer here was C, The Fantastic Four. Jesus' disciples. The impossible answer here was B, James, son of Andrew. Question 8, the Kennedy brothers. The impossible answer here was D, Andrew. Question 9, Vice Presidents of the USA. The impossible answer here was D, James Madison. And final one for this round, the Archbishop of Canterbury. The impossible one here was B, John Sentamu. Round number 4, the geography round. So question 1, the M1 motorway is how many miles long? And the answer is C, 193 miles. Question 2, which stretch of water separates Anglesey and Wales? It is, of course, A, the Menai Strait. Question 3, the world's biggest port is D, the port of Shanghai. Question 4, the island that you would visit to kiss a Blarney Stone is C, Ireland. Question 5, on an OS map with a scale of 1 to 25,000, how many miles represent 1 inch? That is A, 2.5 miles. The famous landmark, the first one, is Mount Rushmore. The second one is Uluru, which is found in Australia. The third one, quite famous last year, was Worley Dam. The fourth one was the Valley of the Kings. And the final one was the Dachstein Valley, and that is found in Austria. Round number 5, the Bible round. Question 1, Samson used a donkey's jawbone to kill C, 1,000 men. Question 2, the phrases fear not and do not fear appear 365 times in the Bible. That's D, 365. Elijah was one man that never died in the Bible, and the second was C, Enoch. Question 4, the woman who is mentioned most in Scripture is B, Sarah. Question 5, God gave manna to the Israelites while they were in the desert, and manna means C. What is it? Question 6, the shortest book of the Bible by verse is B, 2 John. and 7. Question 7, how many brothers did Jesus have? And a bonus point if you can name them. It was B, 4. He had 4 brothers, and the names of the 4 was James, Joseph, Judas and Simon. And you need to get 2 names for 1 point and 3 or 4 of the names for 2 points. That's in addition to a point for getting the correct number of brothers. So question 8, what is the only book of the Bible that does not contain the word God? It is, of course, B, the book of Esther. Moving on to the final round, the review of the year. How much money did Captain Tom raise for his birthday walk, not including gift aid? Was A, 30 million. Marcus Rashford raised C, 20 million through lockdown. Harry and Meghan announced their decision to step back from royal duties on B, the 8th of January. Question 4, the first recorded COVID case in this country, as far as I can been able to work out in my research, was A, the 31st of January. Question 5, the impeachment of Donald Trump began on the 16th of January 2020, A. Question 6, the Dow Jones dropped B, 2,013 points in a single day in March, which is the single biggest drop ever. Question 7, a huge explosion in Beirut this year was caused by A, ammonium nitrate. 8, Ruth Ginsburg died in September. The famous role she held was Supreme Court Justice. Question 9, the first European country to implement a lockdown was C, Italy. And final question, Liverpool won the Premier League this year. How long is it since they last won it? It was C, 30 years. So I think, if I'm right, that quiz should be out of 60. So if you tally up your scores and let us know how you got on. Thank you for joining us for this first part of the quiz. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we hope you have a lovely Christmas tomorrow. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you again same time next week on New Year's Eve for the second part of the quiz. See you then.